Okay, so I'm going to make this video, I'm going to try to make it as short as possible, just to talk about what I'm asking you to do in these questions of analysis. Basically, when we ask students to analyze literature, we literally mean that we want you to take sentences out. So analyze means to break things into parts, analyze each part. And so you're going to take the sentence out, you're going to quote it, analyze the sentence, analyze the words in the sentence, and come up with, an argument or a reading interpretation. Okay. The question about a conquo and then about misogyny, sons and fathers are going to continue on because there's an arc in the novel where, the novel kind of on purpose sets you up to believe certain things about people, about characters, and then it sort of like pulls the rug out from under you and it changes everything for you. And I want to talk about your analysis, right, in these responses. When I say that I want you to look very carefully at the language and the position and perspective of the narrator, what I'm literally asking you to do is to consider, okay, so, right, we have chapter one, we have a third person narrator who is discussing a conquo. He was well known throughout the 9 villages and even beyond. And so you have this character called that we call the narrator, who also has a personality and beliefs and ideas, right? And what you recognize fairly early on in the novel is that the narrator is largely telling the story as if through the eyes of a conquo. So a conquo is great, right? This first paragraph is like he's awesome. And yet his father, we are told in the next page, that his father had died 10 years ago. In his day, he was lazy and improvident and was quite incapable of thinking about tomorrow. So this is the narrator calling the father lazy, right? And so this is the narrator's perspective that the father is lazy. And, it goes on. But, it switches when the narrator starts talking about Unoka, which is the father, and his playing music, it all of a sudden becomes really positive. Inoka would play with them, his face beaming with blessedness and peace. Sometimes another village would ask Unoka's band and their dancing Ewudo, to come and stay with them and teach them their tune. So there's like a kind of give and take where the narrator is at once critical of Unoka, but then praising his playing of music. But notice, right, even by the third page, Onoka was never happy when it came to wars. He was, in fact, a coward and could not bear the sight of blood. That's the narrator calling Unoka a coward for not being into war. So you see that the narrator actually has a perspective and a bias. When you get into the discussions of the marriages and the way that the men treat their wives, the way that the wives sort of get along with one another and their function, their status in the community, the narrator is going to play a big part in the way that you're guided to think about these characters. So what I want you to do in these analyses is to say, okay, look at the way the narrator describes this scene and this person. The narrator is guiding us to this idea. When we say is a conquo ultimately a sympathetic or an unsympathetic character, we mean is the narrator guiding you to an idea that a conquo should be justified or is a justifiable character? Or is the narrator trying to get you to read against a conquo? Right? And that's where the analysis comes in. That's where you need to say, like, overall, the narrator keeps describing the conquo this way. And then when he gets into, like, descriptions of what a conquo does that is wrong, we are being led to feel X. We're being led to think Y because of these words specifically. So yeah, just the larger context of the post-colonial, this text is in its 50th edition now, published in 1959. And, the whole part one, the first half, it's this beautiful discussion of a beautiful community that sort of polices itself and has all these rules that they came up with for each other. And, you know, it's going to shift. There's going to be the presence of, well, you know, um, there's going to be a group that comes in and starts taking over. And that's where we get to the post colonial idea. You know, what happens when these cultures clash? And Okonkwo ends up doing something very important by the end of the novel. No spoilers. And so then, you know, you're going to be reading retrospectively through and thinking, okay, so this is who Okonkwo is, and this is what he did. And do we understand why the novel is set up to lead us to think these things about him? And then finally, what he did. Okay, I hope this helps. And yeah, just really quickly while I get the chance, um, you are going to post the reading response here, and then at the same time, you're going to post it here. And then this forum, right, you post it here so I can grade it and read it, and you post it here so your peers can read it and so that you can read theirs. And then this forum is going to close 2 days later, and you're going to respond to at least two peers. And yeah, try to keep the conversation going. Hopefully people wrote things that you might disagree with, and you can say as much, you should say as much, and or that you agree with and you have more examples to give, etc. Okay, good luck.